Peace, I'm Rachelle Ferrell, and you're tuned in to the Jazzful with my friend, Eric J.
Hello, everybody. I'm Eric J. Chambers of the Cut Chronicles, where we chronicle urban life here in Hollywood, California. I'm coming to you on this Labor Day with a favor for a friend. That friend is Rachelle Ferrell. She's a phenomenal jazz singer and, of course, a graduate of Berklee College of Music. She's been having some difficult times as of late financially and as well as physically and in other areas of her life, and I decided that, you know what, we should help out, especially after seeing a post last week on Facebook from Sweet Relief Musicians Fund. It is an organization that's about 3.5 miles from where I am right now, and I decided to drive over just to make sure that they are indeed a legitimate fund, simply because as the people give, I want to make sure that Rachelle gets all that she is entitled to get. Well, guess what? They are a legitimate fund. In just a few minutes, you're going to hear from the president of Sweet Relief Musicians Fund. His name is Bill Bennett. You know, when I was a child growing up in Louisiana on Labor Day, I used to love to watch the Jerry Lewis MDA telethons. And of course, I loved watching Lou Rawls' Parade of Stars as well. What was so intriguing about them is that they were there to help people. Well, I decided and was inspired by that, and after talking to Bill about the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund, and with Labor Day here around the corner, I said, why don't we have our own Rally for Rachelle on Labor Day with a YouTube-a-thon? Well, I hope that you and others will be able to share this video and also be a contributor to this cause so that Rachelle will be able to get back out on the road and do the things that my dear sister beloved loves the most, and that is singing for us all. Again, I met Rachelle back in 1993, but I first heard her music in November of 1992. It was like it was yesterday. I developed a rapport with her over the time. In fact, I even have right here in my hand, this is a letter that I got from Rachelle back on February 14th, 1994, is when she wrote this letter. And I'm going to read what it says. It said, "Dear Eric, thank you so much for the photos and your beautiful and inspiring letter. It was very kind of you to take the time to write and share your feelings. Your continued support and well wishes are not only greatly appreciated, they are a blessing from our Father. How'd your 1-hour special turn out? I hope everything worked well for you. I wish you all the best in all of your endeavors. God bless you always. Rachelle, 94. Again, family, this letter almost 30 years ago, and I've kept it over the years because I treasure it, and it's been in my safe. And who knew that 30 years later that those words would leap off the page and I'd be able to be a contributor to help out my dear sister just once again. Well, this time I'm prayerful that you will be a blessing to her. And of course, I also still, as you see right here, I still have her press kit from Capitol Records, which was part of the Blue Note family. This is her biography. And I've had this for about 30 years. Again, when I first heard her music, I fell in love with it. And I thought, man, what a phenomenal talent. And who knew, again, 30 years later, that the Lord would put me in this position so that I would be able to send out the clarion call to the people and ask to help out for our dear sister, Rachelle Ferrell. I'm going to show you a documentary. It's a little mini doc piece that I did on her, which she mentioned to when she asked, how did your project come out? Actually, what it was a special that I created called Sisters of Song, and it featured Rachelle Ferrell, Shantae Moore, and Olita Adams. You get a chance to see that on my website here, thecutchronicles.com. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is show you a part of that. That is the piece with Rachelle Ferrell. And then after we show the presentation, again, this is the first time that anyone has seen it in 30 years since I did it, because ironically, when I did the report, I was working at KGTV, which is an ABC affiliate in San Diego, and just before I got a chance to air it, I ended up switching from television to radio, going to KIFM radio, where I had been for my Jazzful show. Is now going on 30 years. So I went from television to radio, and so the piece never aired. But who knew that the Lord would hold it out for 30 years? The quality now, I must warn you, the quality, there was no HD back in the day, but nevertheless, you'll get a chance to get a taste of the talent that is Rachelle Ferrell. Let's take a look. Every so often there comes a person on the music scene who possesses the total package of a great voice, great musicianship, and mesmerizes some of the greatest talents in the business, such as the late Dizzy Gillespie and George Benson. She's one of the music industry's next superstars. Who is she?
She's Rachelle Ferrell. She's very unique. I don't think that there's another singer out there that's doing what she's doing now.
What Rachelle's doing now is turning heads everywhere she goes, and her debut self-titled CD have both the critics and colleagues ranting and raving about her 6.5 octave voice.
The talent is technically eyeing, you know, to a degree where it just kind of keeps you like, geez, how much further can she go?
I found that either people don't know who Rachelle Ferrell is and her music, or if they do know and if they have heard the album or the music, they're very passionate about it.
Passionate would probably be an understatement. Her sultry, scintillating sounds parallel those of yet another great, Anita Baker, and brings the highest praise from fellow singer and friend, Oleta Adams.
Oh, I think the world of her. I was so very, very happy to have discovered Rachelle. I listened to The Voice one day, and I went out and I bought the tape, and I sat there completely mesmerized and thinking, I haven't felt this way in a very long time.
When did you first realize this gift of singing?
Very early. I've been singing professionally since I was 13 years old. And prior to that, I always knew that, you know, I was going to be involved in music in some capacity. I played classical violin from 3rd grade up through high school. And I can't remember a time when I wasn't singing.
A graduate of the prestigious Berklee School of Music, this Pennsylvania native realized that she had all the skills that it took to become a success. And she enhanced those skills with the magical hands of this man, George Duke.
He's one of the few people that has really touched me in this industry.
Just as Duke has touched her, Rachelle Ferrell hopes to continue to touch the many people, like yours truly, who listen to and appreciates her music, which is certain to take you on an emotional and spiritual joyride. Joining us right now in this rally for Rachelle is Bill Bennett. He's the president of Sweet Relief Musicians Fund. Bill, welcome to the program.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Eric.
I was so delighted to see on Facebook this campaign that you guys have for my friend Rachelle Ferrell. Tell me, why was it important for you guys to reach out, to get the word out for beginners, and to help her in her time of need?
Well, you know, one of the things that we do here at Sweet Relief, so to begin with, we help musicians who are struggling due to illness, disability, or age-related issues. But in some cases, the issue is bigger than what we can do with just writing a simple grant check, right? It's something that's going to take a little bit more time. There's more bills to pay than one check can cover. So we create a fund like we did for Rachelle, and that's what we're doing right now to help her to get everything back on her feet. And you know, hopefully this will work out. But it's been going great so far.
Awesome. You know, I hadn't heard from her in a while, and of course each of these summers, especially since the pandemic started, you see all the other artists, and I'm normally seeing Rachelle Ferrell on these billings, and she was nowhere to be found. So when I saw your post on Facebook, I was like, man, first of all, let me go there to make sure it's legit, because that's the main reason, because there's so many scams out there. And considering the fact that you're only 3.5 miles from where I live, I said I would just go and knock on the door, and it is legit. And tell us a little bit more about the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund.
Right, okay.
And how it started, all of that.
Of course. So we were founded in 1994 by a musician named Victoria Williams, and she was at the time on the road opening for Neil Young on a national tour. She was signed to a major label, and halfway through the tour, she started to experience some symptoms. Led her to go to the doctors. She found out that she had MS, multiple sclerosis, and that kind of stopped her touring, right there. And she also did not have health insurance, which was very common in those years before Obamacare. And so a bunch of her friends got together and did a tribute album where they all performed the music that she had written so that she would get the royalties from it. And it was artists like Lou Reed and Pearl Jam and Soul Asylum. A lot of the early 90s alt-rock bands were involved, and Americana artists, Lucinda Williams, Matthew Sweet, Michael Penn. It was a great album, and it did very well, much better than anyone expected, actually. And it was more money than what Victoria needed at the time. So she said to everybody that was helping her, is like, well, look, I'm grateful that you all came to my side, but think about all the musicians that don't have that for themselves, that don't have a community of quote unquote famous people to help them get through a time like this. I'd like to take some of this money and start a fund for them. And that's how Sweet Relief was born in 1994. And we've been going strong ever since. We're getting ready to celebrate our 30th anniversary next year with a series of shows around the country. We look forward to announcing those soon. But in the meantime, our focus is on helping the day-to-day musicians, the working musicians, also the people who work behind the scenes, the roadies, anyone who works within the music industry. We can help if they're struggling for the reasons I mentioned earlier, and we do our best to help them all.
Well, that's awesome. And as far as the percentage, I asked you this yesterday, just for the people who are giving, I want them to know what percentage does she get, and because we want to know what kind of an impact it's going to make. Of
course. So Rachelle will get 93%, because 2% will go to overhead, and then 5% will go into our general fund to help musicians who are, not, don't have the community that someone like Rachelle has to help them out. And that's something that, typically when we're helping a musician like Rachelle, they love that some of what is coming to help them is going to help some even more unfortunate musicians, right? Musicians who just don't have that community base to support them.
Well, that's awesome that you guys share some of the pot. And I was actually surprised that it's that least amount, because we see so many organizations who are doing fundraising and they have a tendency to want to keep 98% and give 2% to the recipient. But I applaud you guys for the amount that you specifically give to people who are doing specific campaigns, as well as to the rest of the general fund. So prayerfully we'll get a chance to blow up the this fund, so that not only will we take care of Rachelle, but also other people who don't have the name of a Rachelle Ferrell, and they can be blessed by it. And of course, Bill, we talked about Warehouse, the connection there. Tell me your connection to Rachelle from Warehouse, and I'll tell you mine.
Well, so in the early 90s, I was working as a manager for Warehouse Entertainment in Orange County, and a promo CD for Rachelle Ferrell came in, and so I threw it on, which that's something I did. I'm super into music, and I was just blown away by her voice, and became a lifelong fan just from that first experience, and have been, looking forward to more music from her ever since.
And ironically, we have a similar situation. I was at Warehouse in San Diego, near San Diego State, when I lived in San Diego at the time. And I was browsing through the music, and behold, there was this melodic sound. And I went to the counter. It was at Warehouse, and I asked, "Who is that?" And they said, "Rachelle Ferrell." This was November of 1992. Yes. And then in the spring of 1993 is when I did the interview. Bill, thank you so much for shedding some light on this. And again, I wanted to make sure that the people knew that it was a legit organization, and so that their giving, including mine, that it will be used according to the purpose that it was given.
Great. Thank you very much, Eric. Appreciate your time.
Well, I hope that you've enjoyed this rally for Rachelle on this Labor Day with a YouTube-a-thon. Please be sure to share this video with others, especially those who are fans of my dear friend. Rachelle, I love you dearly, and I hope to see you soon. And for those of you who've given, thank you. On behalf of Bill Bennett and the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund, I'm Eric J. Chambers, and this It's the Cut Chronicles, where we chronicle urban life. Have a fantastic day.
Grown apart and lost the feeling that we once shared.